Hello, beautiful humans. I'm Jen Madrone, and today I want to talk a little bit about our personal power, and specifically about the fear of our personal power. Because as we grow and transform and evolve, we begin to become more deeply connected with ourselves. We begin to see parts of us that we didn't know were there, and we begin to feel the subtle gifts that we have to share with the world. And we often have this urge to share those gifts and to do the things that we came here to the planet to do. And that is really exciting. But with that excitement often comes a lot of fear because we are connecting with a part of us ourselves that we hadn't connected with before. And that fear can show up in a lot of different ways. And, often when we begin to have this deep desire to share that pure, divine, authentic part of ourselves, then we start to have doubts. We immediately start to doubt, like, oh, well, that it's really not good enough. What you have to share isn't really good enough. And the ego starts to tell us things like, oh, it's just your ego that's telling you that you have something to share, that you have a gift, that you're good enough to do this, because the ego is tricky like that. It can use itself to really damper our self-confidence and our connection with ourselves. And so it's a funny thing that we often think that, and it can be our ego patting ourselves on the back and telling us how great we are. That's the typical ego. But actually, the ego for many people shows up more often as that voice of doubt and as that voice of just self-doubt. There's no other word that's coming right now. So, that's a big way that it comes up when we immediately feel something we have to share, and then we talk ourselves out of it. We tell ourselves we're not good enough, we haven't had enough training, we need to study more, we need to do this, or maybe, there's all these other people doing this, why should we be doing it? And so we talk ourselves out of it. And yet there's still that fire in us, there's still that spark in us, there's still that deep desire to share whatever it is we came to this planet to share. And it doesn't matter what it is, it can come in so many different forms. But that desire doesn't usually go away, especially if we're doing the self work and we continue on the path of transformation. That desire keeps coming. And, then another way, especially if we can get past that self doubt and get past that voice of the ego, another way that that fear of our power and stepping into our power shows up is by the fear of judgment. We're deathly afraid of what people are going to say about us, whether they approve or don't approve of what we're doing, whether they think we're good at it or we're not good at it. And also, that fear of judgment is really cellular. It's in our DNA because of the history over time of being persecuted, being burned at the stake, being crucified, being killed for being in your power and for speaking your truth and speaking things that are maybe in contradiction to the overall view of the people in power. And so we all have that in our DNA, whether it was from past lives, whether it's from our ancestors. That fear is in our cells, even though it's no longer a part of our reality. Even though in this day and age, we chose to incarnate into this day and age during a time where we can share our power, where it's actually a whole lot safer to stand in our power and to speak our truth. And so even though we did choose this, it's still in our cellular memory. And so that has to be healed and that has to be identified and recognized and transformed so that we can move past that fear of judgment. And then when we move past that fear of judgment, although it always comes up every time we move to a new level of sharing our gifts, there'll be a new layer of that fear of judgment that we have to move through. And, once we know that pattern, it becomes a little bit easier to move through it each time. But then the other piece, once we've really decided that, okay, I've come here for a reason, and I'm going to share my gifts. I'm going to move past the self-doubt. I'm going to move past the fear. I'm going to share these gifts. And there's also this acceptance piece, accepting who we are completely, every bit of us. And it's funny that it's actually a lot easier for us to accept our faults, accept our imperfections, accept the ways that, the things that we need to improve about ourselves. It's a lot easier for us to accept that than to accept that we are beautiful, powerful, divine beings, because we've been programmed over time to believe that we're not any of those things. And so then that's the next step, is accepting all of ourselves, 100% of ourselves, and especially our perfections and our gifts and our strength and our power and our divinity. And knowing that once we do that, and we really are accepting and then deeply connected to ourself, whatever we share from that place of connection with our soul and connection with spirit is going to come from pure authenticity. It's so we don't have to worry about our ego taking over or abusing our power if we are completely connected with our soul and with spirit. And so, that's what it looks like to be standing in your power. And in order to do that, there's a whole lot of programming that needs to be pushed out of the way. Like we talked about the fear and the fear of judgment and the self-acceptance, and so that's where the work comes in, so that we can really share our gifts in a super incredibly powerful way. And so I'm just excited because there's so many people on this planet who are ready to share these incredible gifts and doing the work, all of you in this group. And so we really have to take the time to work through these aspects that are keeping us back and holding us back from really stepping into our power. And so if this is you, if this resonates with you, and you're really ready to step into your power in an authentic way, ready to connect with your soul and with the divine, and ready to move away all of those things that have been keeping you from stepping into your power, then please private message me and let's talk. And we can see if the work that I do with my clients would be a good fit for you. So I'm sending you all lots of love. Thank you guys for listening. I'm going to say hi to, let's see, we got Carrie and Colleen and Katie and Juan, and probably a bunch of other people that aren't showing up. But thank you guys for listening. I hope you have a great day. If you have any questions, leave them here in the comments. And I'll see you all in the Facebook group.